recorded live from Studio B in the PS101 Media Center. This is BTV. Now, here's Benjamin.
Hello, PS101. I'm Benjamin. Today we have the distinct honor of interviewing Dr. Marc Brackett, the author of Permission to Feel, research psychologist, and the founding director of the Yale University Center for Emotional Intelligence. By the way, he's also a professor in the Child Studies Center at Yale University. Please welcome Dr. Marc Brackett to BTV.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you too. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Can you tell us a little bit? We have been a ruler school for several years now. Can you tell us a little bit about your work at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence and what inspired you to pursue the social emotional field?
Sure, well, thank you for that question. And firstly, how are you feeling?
Very good.
Yes? You got to give me a better word than very good. Come on.
Confident.
Confident. Wow, that's awesome. How about the rest of you on the stage?
Confident too, yeah.
Confident. I love that. Well, I'm actually not as confident as you are. I'm nervous being interviewed by all of you. But to be specific about your question, I, unlike probably the four of you, I didn't like school very much as a kid. And I had a lot of bullying as a kid. And I was afraid to go to school. I was stressed out and lonely as a kid. And I decided that I wanted to dedicate my career to building tools and resources for schools to help make sure that all kids felt like they belonged in school. And so that's a big piece of, why we have Ruler.
That's a good answer. So you want to help others to make sure that they don't have the same bullying problems and they can face their fears?
Yes, exactly. And also, it's not just about facing our fears and dealing with bullying. Life is stressful, right? You get nervous when you're taking tests. You get frustrated, when you're working on your projects. You get lonely sometimes. You get angry sometimes. And I just think it's really important that we talk about this. That's why my book is called Permission to Feel, right? So that we have the permission to talk about our feelings, but also that we learn strategies to help ourselves and help other people deal with their feelings.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Brackett.
Hi.
My name is Nellie. In your book, Permission to Feel, you've spoken about the importance of meta moments, which are brief pauses we can take to reflect on our emotions and how to respond to them. Can you share some tips for incorporating meta moments for a student who may feel frustrated because they're having a hard time challenging time with something academically or regular feelings?
Sure. Well, I think the example that all of you just gave a moment ago when you said you were feeling confident, or maybe you wanted to be more confident, right? The meta moment can help us be more confident. So, for example, right, the meta moment helps us to recognize I'm feeling upset, or I'm feeling angry, or I'm frustrated. And we stop and we take that breath so that our brains can be settled, and then we can think about our best self. And so maybe when I'm feeling frustrated at school, I can say, my best self remains calm. My best self doesn't allow my feelings to get the best of me, right? My best self is someone who just chills out a little bit and gives myself the time to think about how to solve the problem.
Thank you.
Then that helps you then hopefully solve the problem or, deal with your frustration. You're welcome.
Hi, Dr. Brackett. My name is Gandhi. We're going to take the question from one of our teachers here at PS101. Fifth grade teacher, Miss Rachel Barish, wants to know, when was the point you knew the idea of ruler would be something special? And I'd like to know, how did you choose the colors of the ruler mood meter?
Well, I never knew ruler would be as popular as it is. And so that for me is very exciting and very humbling. that I get to meet students like you who are going to school in Queens, who are doing ruler now for many, many years. That's just really gratifying, and makes me very happy. I think over the last couple of years, now that ruler is in almost 5,000 schools, right? I've realized, my goodness, like we're onto something. This is cool. We've got millions of children like yourselves learning about ruler and learning the skills of emotional intelligence, and that's pretty darn cool for me. Now the mood meter, I started with a colleague of mine. His name is David, and originally didn't have any colors. And what we found was that it wasn't as fun, like to talk about your feelings. And so I started asking children like yourselves, like, let's think about colors when we're feeling excited and happy. And everybody's like, oh, that's like the sun, that's yellow. And like, in the summer when you're like relaxing and you're, walking on the grass and it's just a calm day, calm and kind of like chilling out, was kind of green. And then blue, a lot of people associate with being sad or lonely or down. And then red is when your kind of body is activated, you're fired up, right? Which is when you're feeling sometimes angry or anxious. And so that's how the colors came. It was very just like conversations with students like all of you.
Thank you. That's a really nice answer.
Thank you.
Dr. Brackett, it's a pleasure to have you on BTV. My name is Julia. Every day on BTV, we have a ruler segment where we feature our ruler word of the day and then give some helpful strategies to use for students to move into the yellow. What advice do you have for parents who may want to work on and use the mood meter at home to keep the at-home and school connection going?
Very cool question. Now, I have one major comment to make, though. Is that okay? That we don't want to have the mindset that we always have to be in the yellow, right? Because sometimes, right, we can be in the green, and that's okay. And sometimes, what happens if you have a friend whose pet dies sadly, right? We don't want to tell that child, that student, that friend, you have to be in the yellow, right? We want to help them be comfortable in the blue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That it's not like we have to shift out of the blue into the yellow to be happy, that we can feel pretty good about ourselves as long as we know that people are there to support us when we're in the blue or the red. Okay, I just want to make sure that you understand that, because it's very important to me. We don't want to always be in the yellow. That's hard to do. Now, not that said, yellow is good and so is green. And I think, permission to feel, right, which is that title, is saying that you have permission to have all 4 colors on the mood meter. Okay? Because, if you're anxious about something or worried about something, that's legitimate. That's real, right? You're feeling worried. I'm not going to say, stop being worried and be happy, or just be calm, because that's hard. And so I'm repeating myself because it's very important to me that we understand that. The second question you had was about parents. Yeah. Well, have your parents, I'm just curious, the people, whoever your parents are or caregivers are, do they know about the mood meter?
Yes.
They do? Cool. That's awesome. And so for me, I think what's important is that we help your parents or caregivers be role models for emotional intelligence, right? Because we don't want our parents saying, get into the yellow before you get into that classroom. We want our parents to say to us, how are you feeling this morning, honey? You're in the blue? Oh my goodness. Well, let's talk about it. And so that the goal for a ruler is for all of us to be comfortable with all of our feelings. And then when we notice we're having a feeling, let's say that we want to shift, like if you're anxious before a test, right? That's not going to be helpful. So let's think about some strategies, that we can do to help us feel less anxious before the test. And so I think teachers can do that with you. You can do that with your friends. And actually, you can even do it with your parents. I've had students tell me things like, and maybe this could be a little tricky, by the way. Like if you say, hey, mom, looks like you're in the red, right? That could be a little tricky, right? But, you know, doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, right? You can help teach your parents. And part of Ruler is actually helping students like you not only be the learners, but to be the teachers.
Thank you.
That was a long response. I'm sorry.
No, that's
So
great.
we appreciate it. Now, we have just enough time for one last question. And this
Okay.
question comes from our principal, Nick Paniagua. As a nationally known psychologist yourself, you could have taken your work on emotional intelligence to many agencies in society, but you decided to focus on schools. Why do you think it is important to teach emotional intelligence to students? And what advice do you have for them?
I like that question. From my perspective, right, all of you are the future. And so how amazing is that? And so I want to make sure that all of you learn the skills that are going to be helpful so that you can be happy and healthy and make good decisions and have good relationships and achieve your dreams. And I really believe, and I think the research supports me, and that when we develop RULER, when we're better at reading our own and others' emotions, when we understand why we have our feelings, when we use the right words or label them precisely, when we are comfortable expressing them, and when we have strategies to regulate them, life is easier, and life can be better for people. And so I also think that this is not something you just learned on Thursdays at 2 o'clock, right? This is something you learn in kindergarten, and then you get better at it in first grade, then second grade, then third grade, then fourth grade. I know you're not going to believe this, but I am 53 years old, and I'm still learning Ruler.
Really?
Yeah, because life is filled with ups and downs and ins and outs, and I'm a leader now, and so sometimes I have challenges with my employees. Sometimes, right, the world doesn't go the way I want it to go, and I have to deal with my feelings still, and I'm always learning new strategies. So I think we all are lifelong learners when it comes to Ruler.
Thank you. Well, this has been a very special experience for all of us, and we want to thank you, Dr. Marc Brackett, for putting us all into the yellow with the time you've given us today. We cannot thank you enough for this amazing opportunity.
Well, thank you for doing what you do, and I am honored to be a guest on your show.
As are we. For Julia, Nellie, Samvi, Mrs. Paniagua, Mr. Hyman, and all of us here at PS101 BEE TV, I'm Benjamin. As always, have a beautiful day, and thanks for spending part of your day with us.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.